So welcome to George Brown College and specifically the Accounting Diploma Programs. My name is Rand Rollins. My co-coordinator, Aaron Sheeman, could not be here today. Um, well, but I can walk you through what's happening with the Accounting Diploma Programs. So there are 3 programs, but I'm going to talk about the 2 programs ending with the 7. As if they are one program until I get to talk to the co-op. So the difference between the programs, if you're not already aware, is the B103 is the 2-year program. The B107 and B157 programs have an extra year, and B157 has a co-op semester. Or what we are now referring to as work experience. So if you're not familiar with co-op, that's the original term. Work experience term is now what the new term. So I am a professional accountant. Most of the people teaching in the program are professional accountants. I have a long background, starting with Price Waterhouse after I graduated. And then I've worked in a lot of different industries. I've worked in heavy manufacturing. I've worked in the service sector. I've worked in the software development sector. And I've done some consulting work with a number of other organizations. So I've got a pretty good background in accounting. And the traditional high school guidance counselor will suggest accounting to you if you are good at numbers. And while being good at numbers, getting good math scores is important, it's actually not the most important thing about being a professional accountant. We are primarily communicators, and we communicate with numbers. So when I look at a set of financial statements for either an investment to evaluate a company, I will read them differently as a trained accountant than most other people will read those numbers, because I realize that I speak that language that accountants speak. So this is what you will primarily be learning. Now, to be a good accountant these days, so let me step back a little bit. There's a difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant. And a bookkeeper primarily takes information from one source and transcribes it to another source. Obviously, very good bookkeepers can do more than that. And just as very poor accountants can't do much more than that. But that role is rapidly disappearing in North America. And the reason is that the source of the information may be your computer program printing off an invoice, which in the old days you used to put in the mail and would be received by me, and then I would re-enter all of that information into my computer program. Well, these days, there are ways of getting information from your computer to my computer directly, and you don't have to print anything. You don't have to put it in the mail. I don't have to wait for the mail to enter it into my program. And the easiest way to think of that is if you have been to a restaurant in North America and you've paid with a credit card, you actually don't pay the restaurant. You technically pay a company, typically Moneris, and Moneris then pays the restaurant. So Moneris receives your information, they get your credit card information, and they have the banking information for the restaurant. But you don't see the restaurant's banking information, and the restaurant doesn't see your credit card information. So we're doing that with all accounting information these days. And so the role of bookkeepers is disappearing. What really becomes important then is that you can adapt to new situations. And the role that I see that old clerical role developing into is more of an analytical role. So that means you're looking at the information that has automatically been entered into your computer, and you're looking for ways of finding savings for the organization. For an example, if you have a company that has a lot of salespeople who are traveling all of the time, you may find that you have done $200,000 of business with the Marriott chain. So it's worth calling up the folks at Marriott and saying, hey, why don't you give us a 10% discount? And we will make you the primary hotel, and we will direct our salespeople to go to your hotel as a preferred supplier of accommodation to our organization. And by doing that, we will probably shift an extra $50,000 of business to you. So why don't you give us a 10% discount? That's where you start adding value to an organization. And I can tell you that in my career, I've saved companies as much as $10 million a year. So I had a pretty good career. They kind of liked me. If you can do that for your company, I suggest that you're going to have a good career as well. So it's as if I read these screens in advance. I did actually, but so yes, so analytical accountants is where it's at. Other areas of growth are tax. Taxes are always a complex area. You've got cost analysis, so cost accounting is very important. We don't have as much manufacturing in North America and in Canada as we used to do. But a lot of the manufacturing that does occur is for smaller businesses that really need the expertise to drive down and find out where they could maybe be saving some money on their manufacturing. So it's a different model. Those techniques that were developed for the major manufacturers, such as the car manufacturers, they need to get out to the smaller organizations, and often that's a skill that is not as easily found. So that's a big area of growth. The other area that's not on here, and it really it's something that is developing, and we need to cater to it a little bit more. We've got a couple of programs in development, is risk analysis and risk management. So the whole area of making sure your system of accounting controls will both produce good accounting information and also protect the assets of the organization. And increasingly, of course, this gets to cybersecurity. So if you were to do the 2-year diploma and you wanted to do a cybersecurity certificate, we have programs not through this school, but through our technology school in cybersecurity. And that's a huge area right now. So there's lots of growth paths once you complete the 2 or the 3-year diploma. We do have a lot of our professors, as I say, they are primarily professional accountants. So we do have a even broader than my background across a wide range of industries represented. You will find that a lot of us who have lived accounting have a different perspective than sometimes the authors of the textbooks. And that's not to disregard everything in the textbook, but sometimes we can put a flavor on saying things are more important or less important, or nobody ever does this. And I'll give you an example. I think in your first year accounting textbook, there is something called supplies inventory. In theory, you're supposed to track your office supplies, to which I say, unless you're staples, don't bother. Nobody does it. It's typically a very small amount. You will never have enough supplies inventory to ever worry about it, even though it can be an expense for an organization. So this is the sort of practical aspect that we can bring to our teaching as professors. When you finish your program, I talked about postgrad certificates. There are also other programs you can transfer to. If you really like accounting and you want to be a professional accountant, that in Canada is typically CPA or an ACCA. CPA is Chartered Professional Accountant, and ACCA is, oh, I'm going to forget it now. I had it on the tip of my tongue. It's a newer designation that is coming in from Great Britain. It's very popular internationally. It is not as well known in North America. It's a little easier to get than the CPA, and that's going to be an issue going forward for the ACCA. So if you complete our 3-year diploma, I think you get the first 6 ACCA courses. If you take your diploma studies and transfer to a degree that recognizes your diploma studies, then you can be probably 2 years away from satisfying all of the requirements, what the CPA is called preparation courses. And if you want to know more about that, you can certainly look at the CPA website or come back and ask me questions, and I'll go through that. But our diploma courses are not directly usable as preparation courses for CPA studies. They do get directly recognized by ACCA. And part of the reason for that is this is a system-wide decision that CPAs have made. We at George Brown College, we were one of the first colleges to have degree programs. A lot of us have taught in a degree program, and you will find that the courses in the diploma program map very closely to our degree program. In fact, if you finish the 2-year program, you can transfer directly into our degree program and get credit for almost all of your courses. There's 1 or 2 courses that we still have to harmonize between the 2 programs. And similarly with the 3-year diploma, you can get your 3-year diploma. You won't get quite 3 years credit at the degree program. That's a complex question I'm not going to go into. So you have options. And as I say, you can always take postgrad certificates. There's a lot that are available.
Real quick, we have a couple questions in chat here if you want to take a look at these now or after.
Let me power through because I'm cognizant of time,
Sure.
and I'm just going to get through the rest of the slides.
All right.
And then, so thank you. Yes, I will, if people can hold on for about 3 minutes. So the administrative stuff, we have both fall and winter intakes. These programs run all year round. So if you do the 3-year diploma and you want to complete it in 2 calendar years, you go fall, winter, summer, fall, winter, summer. In 2 calendar years, you are finished all 6 semesters. So that is a possibility, but you cannot start in the summer. We do run all of the 1st-year courses in the summer. You simply don't get to start. So even if you are not going to be ready until the summer, you could apply for the winter, take 1 or 2 courses, and then get caught up on your 1st semester over the summer. So how to choose among them? Here is the way I recommend all students do this, whether they are in the program or leaving or just entering the program. Go to a website like Indeed, INDEED, and look at the jobs you want. Not when you first graduate. Look for the jobs that are 8 to 10 years down the road, and then work backwards. To get this job that requires 8 years experience, which really means that you need 5 years work experience. There's a way to read job ads. I used to do hiring, so I have a little insight. So what is the job that you want to get to? You're always aspirational. You're always wanting to move forward. And if it says that you need to be a CPA for this job, or you need to be an ACCA, then you choose the path that is going to get you to the CPA or the ACCA. Traditionally, the B103 program has been more for the clerical folks, but it's also a starting point for people new to Canada who want to get a piece of paper and then get their permanent residency. And then rather than those crazy international fees we charge, you can pay our much lower and more reasonable domestic tuition, whether in our program or another program. And the B107, B157, that was geared towards students who are looking to get a management role, senior financial analyst, tax analyst, those sorts of more senior roles that require a lot more critical thinking. That's really where you get your critical thinking skills, is in your third year. The programs are exactly the same for the first 2 years. There's a slight timing difference between the 2-year and 3-year, only because you need to have your personal tax course to graduate from a 2-year diploma in Ontario. And so it's in your 4th semester. I think it's in the 5th semester of your 3-year program. If you do choose the program that has work experience, we do not guarantee you a placement. You have to apply for those placements. It's just like applying for jobs, and the employer has to choose you. So we will post a lot of positions. This year, I understand we had unfilled positions. We had more employers looking for people than we had people to fill the positions. So we had a great experience this year. Just in general, what's happening in accounting is my generation is retiring. The peak of the retirements, I believe, is 2023. And that means when you graduate from a 2-year, 3-year program, you are hitting the best job market for accountants in 40 years. So literally, this is a generational opportunity if you are interested in accounting. This is how we run our programs. We do have some other things such as speaker series, professional development events. Just before the pandemic, we had a meet and greet between some of our graduates who had gone to KPMG, one of the big audit firms, and they came back to chat with some of our students. So if you are interested, there's the website now. You have some questions in chat. Thank you. Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. I was starting off with accredited Chartered Certified Accountants, and I knew that was wrong. So thank you very much, Camille. It's Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. So placement in B157, I just covered that a little bit. So if you are in the co-op program, there will be opportunities. You get to apply for those opportunities on an equal footing with everybody else who applies, but we are not knocking on your door and saying, hey, you should apply. You have to do the work to apply. And in addition to that, I occasionally, in my role as the coordinator for the program, I will be contacted by employers. So this past September, I was contacted by Myers Norris Penny, which is a very good medium-sized audit firm. And they were looking for permanent hires as well as some co-op positions. So they have approached us, and that's now part of our in-feed program. Those jobs will be posted. I actually, in that case, I did have a couple of graduates from the summer who I did forward the opportunity information to, and I said, hey, you should really apply for this. I think there were 4 or 5 people I sent that email to. And I know of at least one who got one of those jobs. So that's pretty good. You know, I sent it out to 5 people, and one of them at least was actually hired. So that was excellent news for that student, graduate now, and also for our program. So we will present the opportunities, but you have to chase them. It's just like anything else in the world. We're not your, you're all adults. You have to put in a little effort to get these things. And we will give you some training. There is a co-op preparation program course that everybody in the co-op program has to take. And we will walk you through some sample job interviews, things to do, things not to do. So we will prepare you as best we can, but at the end of the day, it's you, it's your personality, it's your ability to demonstrate your skills and your value to an organization. I want to stress, your role is to create value for an organization. When I saved an organization $10 million, that creates value for the organization. When I saved them $2 million, or I solved a legal problem even before it was a problem, these are things that added value to the organization. And your career will be based largely on the value you produce. I think all employers these days are much more value conscious. So as computers automate a lot of things, the element that you really provide is not, again, processing pieces of paper. Your value is, what does this mean? And I can give you a ton of examples, even from the learning environment, not just from my own background, as to what you are looking for, how to interpret this information. I'm doing an exercise with my students in one course, and one of the products, when you do the proper costing for it, or you do a more accurate costing, I shouldn't say proper, you do more accurate costing, you find that it's not really making money for the organization. So now you have to say, okay, well, what are my strategies? Can I increase my price? Who are my competitors? Is this a unique product? Is this something, how quickly should I increase the price? And some of that gets into marketing. But again, you're part of a team. You're talking to the marketing people and you're saying, okay, here's what I found. We've got to increase our price, or we've got to drop the product. And now you're working together to find solutions. So that's really where the job is. So if you can do that in an interview, if you can convince somebody, I will add value, I will be able to find these savings for you, I will be able to present the information very compellingly, then yeah, you should have no problems getting that placement. There was one in Q&A. How fast does the accounting program fill up? Excellent question. And the answer is the accounting programs currently have not been filling. So the last couple of years, they have not been filling. And part of the reason for that is the 3-year program has lost one of its outlets. So in around 2015, so 6 years ago, CPA Canada began a program called the Advanced Certificate in Accounting and Finance. When they proposed it, it was to replace the 3 accounting bodies in Canada at the time, chartered accountants, certified general accountants, certified management accountants, all combined into one body. And all employers knew what a 4th-year CGA was, and you'd often see job ads looking for a 4th-year CGA. In fact, I think I've seen some recently, within the last year, still looking for that 4th-year CGA, but there is no such thing. So this certificate was going to recognize the 4th-year CGA. And the difference between a 4th-year and a 5th-year CGA is the 4th-year student has all of the technical skills, or taken all of the technical courses, but none of the professional level courses. So this certificate was developed. Our 3-year program was made to be in line with that. So you'd get all of your ACAF credits. I think there may have been 1 or 2 missing, but basically all of the credits. And you'd get this piece of paper from CPA Ontario. Then they stopped that program a couple of years later because not a lot of people were interested. So we have this program designed for that really was not meeting that need. And so we now need to find we really need to re-examine the 3-year program. So that one, there's lots of spaces there. The 2-year program has been doing fairly well, but there's still going to be spaces. So I would not worry about that. You've got a little bit of time to decide. Should not be an issue so far. We'll have to see. Accounting prepare you to be self-employed after graduation? Again, excellent question. So self-employment is an interesting thing. Not everybody is cut out to be self-employed. is a simple fact of the matter. And so that is a personal thing as much as anything we can prepare you for. So we will give you a set of skills, but when you are self-employed, you have to be able to sell those skills. So exactly what I just talked about, exactly when you are able to convince somebody that you can add value, then you can sell them on your services. The bookkeeping role still exists. It's more on a personal level than a business level. It's just not worth, I mean, individuals do not have accounting systems. They typically keep their information on pieces of paper. So there's tax preparation services that you can do for people. One of our graduates used to work with people in the arts and entertainment industry, so musicians. Musicians are notorious for needing a bookkeeper or somebody to look after their bills, and they aren't very organized. So there's no accounting system there. So personal accountants, that will still be a role. Personal bookkeeping, that will still be a role. Tax preparation, still be a role. So those things are all part of being self-employed. And then obviously, if you are at the able to provide a lot of value, say as a consultant, then absolutely you can do that self-employed, because again, you're able to sell those skills, say, hey, I can save you, $2 million this way. And there's a couple of, areas where that applies. But self-employment, the big thing about self-employment that people don't realize is, again, you've got to have selling skills. You've got to go and get clients. You have to have self-management skills so that you get the work done for the clients on a regular basis. And it's just a different beast than most people who go into accounting, but it can be a very successful role that you can play. But that's all I can really tell you. So yes, we will give you a set of technical skills that you can do remotely. A lot of people, by the way, for some of the bookkeeping, there are people who are filling in roles remotely for organizations. So that's a little bit of a top up to self-employment. So you might have your own clients, but then you've got sort of a job sharing arrangement at an employer. So you're working, 5 mornings a week for the employer, and then in your afternoons you're self-employed. And you can do that because it's now a remote model of working. What to do after study? I mean, how to do a business, how to set up a business. So we do have a program, I think, in entrepreneurial studies, if you are interested. I think is that a certificate or is that a program? Alex, do you know?
I'm not 100% sure on whether it's a certificate or not, but I can confirm we do have an entrepreneurship program if you're interested in that sort of thing.
I could probably find it here, but you can find it by Googling our programs as well. If that's what you're interested in, is creating your own business, that's an entrepreneurial studies. That's sort of beyond the scope of what I do. Can you get a skill in stock market? So stock market is not directly related to accounting. That would be more of our finance programs, where you're going to be looking at the stock markets. So stock markets, we're almost out of time. Stock markets I can teach you how to interpret the financial information, but I can't tell you what that company is going to do in the future. That's really what you need to invest in the stock market. And of course, the stock market is a lot of psychology as well. So if everybody's buying AMC theaters, then maybe there's an opportunity. It's not for me, but maybe for some other. So the B157 is it's 6 semesters, which is typically 3 years. I'm going to stop sharing, I think. It's typically 3 years, and the co-op placement, the work experience semester, would be one of those semesters you're not studying. So if you go fall, winter, and then work in summer, fall, winter, work experience in summer, then fall and winter, and you'd be done. Okay, I've got two more. Fees I don't deal with. You do have, there is a fee because it has to be a supervised work placement. And for the 3-year, if you are aiming for the degree, Camille, I would recommend you transfer after the 2nd year, simply because the 3-year doesn't get you all of the last credits. And it will actually take you slightly longer to go 3 years and then finish up at a degree than if you did 2 years and finished up in a degree. So that 3rd year, if you're headed for the degree, if you've got the marks to do degree work, we always recommend do a 2-year diploma and then transfer. And you don't have to just transfer to the George Brown program. There are a lot of schools that will recognize our 2-year diploma for the first 2 years of their programs. The big schools in Toronto, which are obviously University of Toronto, Ryerson, whatever Ryerson's new name is going to be, the university that shall not be named, and York University, they tend not to give you full credit for the first 2 years. But I think Windsor does. Nipissing, which is a distance program, so you don't have to go to North Bay, as lovely as North Bay is. And it used to be that Laurentian also would do a 2+2 model, take a 2-year diploma. But Laurentian, I think, is still in bankruptcy protection. So I'm not recommending Laurentian at this time. Yeah, transfer from the 2nd year to a degree. It is best to do the 2-year diploma. So if you start at the 3-year and then after transfer after the 2nd year, you're going to be slightly off cycle. But if you transfer after this, if you transfer from the 3-year program to the 2-year program, get your 2-year diploma, then transferring into the degree is very, very simple. It becomes a little bit more complex from the 3 years, as I say, just a timing issue. Oh, the audio is breaking up on the 3-year to degree questions. Sorry about that. Okay, so I will answer again. I recommend going from the 2-year to the degree. I don't recommend the 3-year. The 3-year is just going to mean that you're doing like 5 calendar years. The reason is the time of the courses in the degree, and the degree program currently is too small to run courses more than once per year. So you finished your 3 years, you have to do a course in your 3rd year of the degree, and that is a prerequisite for other courses. Some of those courses you get credit for, oddly enough, but you do that course in the fall of your 3rd year in the degree, and then you have to wait for an entire year to take your advanced courses. So it's just the matter of timing. So I don't recommend 3-year to the degree. Typically, if you can do a degree, transfer after 2 years. But we do have a lot of students who do transfer after 3 years. So they do the 3-year diploma. They say, hey, I can do this. I can do this at a high level. I'm going on for the degree because now I want to be a CPA. So a lot of students do it. It's just, if you're headed for a CPA, you're headed for the degree, do it after 2 years. That's my recommendation. Yeah, so study visas, again, is out of my, is not in my skill set. I don't have full understanding. So anything I say, take with a grain of salt, contact the international office. If you do the diploma, typically what a student in your position would do is do the 2-year diploma, work for a year, get their permanent residency, and then the degree. And the reason is that once you are a permanent resident in Canada, you pay domestic tuition, so there's a big savings in tuition. And at that point, the study visa becomes irrelevant. Extending study visas, students extend study visas all the time. Typically for a student doing the 2-year program, they have a 3-year study visa. And so you wouldn't be able to finish the complete degree with that extra year. But if you are in the program and you are performing well in that program, usually it is not an issue. Where we have, where students run into problems are often they are not attending class, they are not doing well in their programs, and now they have to extend their study visa. Well, that's a little harder to get an extension for studying if you haven't been doing any studying for the first 3 years. So that's the only time that I've ever seen a problem on extending study visa. But do go to the international office and ask them. You paid your fee for 2 semesters for a 3-year co-op. So yes, you can. So you can transfer from one to the other, and because the courses for the first 2 years in all programs are really the same. There's as I say, there's a slight timing difference between the 2-year and the 3-year in terms of the scheduling of courses. Otherwise, the courses are exactly the same. So you can do your first year in the 3-year program and then transfer to the 2-year, or you can do the 2-year program and then transfer to the 3-year. It's very seamless. It's not going to, so whether you paid fees or not is not particularly relevant. The only time it becomes relevant is if you have paid your fees to go on the work experience co-op term, and you'd say, okay, I've decided I'm not going to do the work experience term. Then there may be an issue. And I don't, again, fees are the registrar's office. I don't deal with fees. I'm on the academic career counseling side. So, but if I understand your question correctly, yes, if you want to switch from a 2-year to 3-year or vice versa, you are fine. Just ask our virtual student help desk, and they can do that. Thank you for participation. A lot of good questions in there. I hope it gave you something to think about, and we hope to see you in class.